Here we go. Question number 1, Pastor Steve says, if you're younger in your faith and you're trying to seek wisdom, how do you find someone to mentor / disciple you?
Well, you know what what I would be doing is, first off, you need to be involved in a fellowship. And so if you're involved in a fellowship, you need to be talking to the people who are in there. And I would just be looking for guys that are committed. So you see them there all the time. Most of this stuff has to do with being friends with people. If you don't know people, it's hard to gauge whether or not you actually want to hear from them.
Yeah.
And so you got to get to know people, and once you get to know them, then I would be looking at their lifestyle and their marriage and that kind of stuff to see if there's any wisdom that I want to glean from the guy, and that's what I would be looking for. A lot of this stuff happens a little bit more organically in the sense that when you're involved in ministry at a church, like you're just at church doing things, you're going to be running into people and you're going to be having conversations, and it's going to just become a real obvious thing who the guys are that you want to glean from, and then just developing a relationship with those guys, and that's what I'd be doing. Plus, on top of it, obviously praying about it. God can open up doors that seem to be absolutely shut for us. So that's what I would be doing. I was involved when I was a young believer at my church as an usher, and most churches have ushers, and a lot of the guys that are serving there are guys who are committed to the Lord and committed to fellowship and service to Jesus, and so I would be looking at that pool. Same thing with Sunday school. You get a lot of people in Sunday school who are just committed believers and love the Lord, and so if you're involved in Sunday school, that's a good place to be looking.
So do you think the flip side of this, like someone that wants to be discipled, but the person that's doing the discipling from when you grew up or church 30 years ago, do you think now that there's less men stepping up to be a disciple, especially guys that 5, 10, 15, 20 years old in the Lord, actually going and discipling?
Yeah,
or no?
I like the whole discipling thing, and I've obviously I disciple people. My staff are people that I've discipled, and so they don't know it, but that's what I do. And so I never had anybody that discipled me. It was just the kind of thing where I had ongoing relationships with guys, and if I had questions, then I'd go ask them. But I never had a like sit down formal discipleship thing going on. Most of the things that I've learned and the things that I've caught, I've either caught from going to church and listening to what the pastor had to say, or picking up my Bible and spending time with the Lord.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's the best kind of discipleship that you can get, is spending time with the Lord. And any guy who's going to disciple you is going to be emphasizing that. You need to spend time in the Word and that kind of thing. So I think that it just depends. There's guys that are bent that way in the sense that they want to pour into other guys' lives, and so they're always looking for somebody to help out. And we got quite a few in our fellowship that are like that, and so they get together with guys and have coffee with them and that kind of thing. So I don't know that it's more or less nowadays. It's one of those things that, from my experience, churches go through cycles, and it's like guys start recognizing that maybe they ought to do a little bit more, and they start pouring into somebody's life, and so I don't know.
So just for basic knowledge, to be a disciple just means a disciplined learner,
right?
And that's obviously a disciplined learner of Christ.
Right.
So, and I think for especially the men thing, like discipling, when I was a younger believer, I really needed that, have other guys pour in my life, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But even if that wasn't there, I still have a responsibility to be a disciple,
right?
One-on-one with the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think in the culture we have, where it's a little bit, you always hear millennial and stuff, but a little bit of men just being more immature, is they don't take that responsibility you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that anybody who becomes a Christian, it's like, are you serious or not? And you need to up your game if you're not serious. So you want to walk with Jesus, then walk with Jesus. As far as getting guidance from guys, I was always involved in a small home fellowship, and I had buddies around that I would talk with about things. But again, there was never like a formal discipleship. When I think of formal discipleship, it's like get together once a week with a guy, spend an hour with him, praying and going over what he's been reading in his Bible every morning, that kind of thing. Talking about different issues, maybe taking them through a new believer study or that kind of thing. And so usually that's what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of discipleship. But the kind of discipleship that you see Jesus doing with guys is he just grabbed a bunch of guys and did ministry with them. And
right.
And so that needs to be happening. And I can just tell I can tell you that every church around needs people who are committed to being involved in ministry in all kinds of different areas, and most of the really good input that I've gotten from people over the years happened through that. I was just involved in ministry.
Yeah, for sure.
Asking guys questions and that kind of thing, and then spending time in the Word with the Lord. So.